Welcome to Southern Fried Baseball, brought to you by College Baseball Central, bringing you 90 feet closer to the greatest show on dirt. Here are your hosts.
Welcome in, college baseball fans. Week 7 is behind us in the SEC. It was another fantastic weekend. A lot of teams kind of still staying in that pack, if you will. Tournament resumes are starting to get formed. We had our first official AQ eliminated in the Missouri Tigers this weekend. It was a fantastic, fantastic weekend for college baseball. Nick, how are we doing?
Good. Yeah, it was again, I guess for a second week in a row, non-chaotic from terms of like who won the series and who didn't. There weren't really many upsets, but definitely still plenty of storylines to talk about that came from it.
Yeah, there was a ton of, I guess, chalk, if you will. Obviously, there was two kind of big upsets. One of them, I think, really, really massive. And let's start with the one that was probably the quickest for us, the one that you got to see. The Tennessee Volunteers hosted the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama won game 1 on Thursday, 12-8, and then Tennessee rolled through the doubleheader, winning 10-0, 11-4. Blaine Brown was phenomenal. Tegan Coons went the distance in game 2 that really kind of saved the bullpen.
Yeah.
Nick, before we get into kind of the X's and O's of this, what was your thoughts leaving Lindsey Nelson Thursday night after the 12-8 loss?
It was a mixed bag. I was a little, and part of it is it's tough when it's on a Thursday, just because the crowd's not completely full. It's not like a Friday night. I mean, you have people that have to work the next day. People are coming after work, so it wasn't like a completely full crowd. I mean, students were there. Like that part was pretty packed. I mean, it was probably 75-80% capacity, whereas the last 3 or 4 years, even the midweeks were sold out. So I would say that part is a little bit different. But I think that the fan base just needed a series win at home, and they finally got it. Yeah, the thoughts were like, if you'd have told me that, especially coming into this weekend with like the way that Alabama's pitched it over the last 4 weeks between Tyler Fay, Zane Adams, and even Upchurch has thrown well. If you told me, especially in that first game, that Tennessee scored 8 with Landon Mack on the hill, I would assume Tennessee would have won. So that was a very rare, rough outing for Landon Mack. So that was very surprising to see, but it was great to see the offense kind of get on a roll this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was Blaine Brown. I know I kind of touched on that in the pre-show a little bit, but
Yeah,
I mean, he has been taking it on the chin for the past couple weeks. They moved him down in the order, and I thought it was pretty cool that in Game 3 when they won, he went out and celebrated with the Uber Eats people out there.
yeah, he's been doing that.
I
Yeah,
think for
he's
a
been
team
doing
that's
that
just
every
had so much
weekend.
adversity,
Mm-hmm.
I guess this was just the first time I'd actually watched I
Yeah,
guess the end of it where he caught it.
yeah,
But I mean, they get Vanderbilt, they get South Carolina, they get Ole Miss. Or sorry, this is Alabama.
yeah. Okay.
I kind of feel like Tennessee's in the tournament, like right this second. Like barring total monumental collapse, like I feel like they're almost closer to a 2 than missing the tournament. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, that's why I was still confused last weekend when you brought it up about like Tennessee's tournament chances, and that's why I said like I didn't get it. Like right now, they're probably a high 2. Like their DSR is 14, RPI is 21. So you're looking at, so even if you split those two, you're probably looking at, like, especially the way that they're doing the seeds this year, where it's 1 through 32. Like Tennessee right now would probably fall somewhere in between that 20 to 25 range, if like going off the actual metrics, kind of if things work out. Um, so yeah, I mean, I would say they're kind of that middle of the road 2 seed. Now you can argue, especially this year, kind of where you want to fall, with, just because of things are so volatile. Like the thing you don't want to do this year is be that 25-ish through 32 team, because we've talked about this over and over, and obviously this is an SEC show, but we talk about other teams in the country. It kind of feels like that first 5, 6, 7 is a little bit on a different tier than and then that's kind of a decent sized drop off to everybody else. So that's where you don't want to be. So yeah, Tennessee, you're kind of fighting it to whether you want to be that kind of middle of the road 2 seed, or you want to be a high 3 seed and kind of take your chances that way.
For me, it was pretty interesting that sitting there at 10-11 versus 9-12. I know it's just one game, one isolated thing, but I mean, they get Kentucky and Oklahoma on the road. Kentucky's going to be desperate, but I mean, you could argue Tennessee's been just as desperate the past month. And then they get Texas at home. I mean, I feel really good about them going forward. I was really, really worried, I'm going to be honest with you, Thursday, because they had burned Appenzeller. They really kind of needed it. And then Alabama gifted them, a run roll victory, if you will. And this really kind of flipped on it. Alabama obviously gets Vanderbilt, South Carolina, and Ole Miss. They're going to have enough wins, but I feel like if you're picking where you can go as a 1 seed, like you want to kind of go to Tuscaloosa, wouldn't you agree?
I don't think they end up as a 1 seed now. Just because I just don't see them finishing the year hot. Like even with that schedule they have left.
I mean, realistically, I could say
know that
they could play bad and end up with 17 SEC wins.
Yeah, what is their DSR right now? Because see if that loves them too as much.
RPI is
RPI is like 6, I think.
I think it was 8.
Okay,
7.
And then
7
DSR is 13. So I guess right now they still would be hosting. But yes, I guess just to answer your question. Yeah, if you're one of those like 2 seeds, especially if you're going to be a higher 2 seed, because Bama will probably be like, we know they always reserve kind of that 15-16 is going to be like a mid-major, which this year probably like Southern Miss probably earns that like 15 or 16. And then the other one's usually like your Big 12 champ or
Nebraska.
or like a Nebraska or like I don't think it should be USC, but I could see it be, or like Oregon, I guess, like a Big 10, like the second one of the Big 10. So then it depends. Yeah. So do you think Alabama would be somewhere around that 12, 13, 14, which I personally think is too high, especially with how they're playing right now. You're relying on basically 3 to 4 guys on offense. I think Tyler Fay is obviously a lot better. I think the whole pitching staff's a lot better than what they showed this weekend. We've talked about their bullpen ad nauseum, so we don't need to bring that up again. But yeah, I mean,
it tried to do them on Thursday night too.
That's why. Yeah, I know, and it's been rough. So it's just fair. Yeah, I don't know. I trust Rob Vaughn. Always have. I still think they're scrapping and figured out. Yeah, 16, 17 wins is probably where they do end up. But we'll see how the metrics kind of work out for them in the end.
I should say this. If they are like dissecting how to get ready for a tournament, we saw with Mississippi State where they go in and sweep Carolina, get super, super confident, sweep Vanderbilt, sweep South Carolina, and they're right back in it. Ole Miss kind of gives them that step up in competition, so they're not going to be playing down to anybody. That'd be the only thing. But again, I mean, the last 3-4 weeks, you know how much I've been sold on Bama. Wouldn't you agree?
Not quite as much as
I think. I mean, I've had people's moms tweet at me. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I will say.
Let's move on to probably the biggest disappointment of the week.
We can't go without saying having Trent Grindlinger. I'm not sure if you've seen just a freshman. You talk about I think I talked to him about him where it's like freshman body guys doesn't look like a freshman. Him having 8 hits in the 3 games, and him being in that 5 hole kind of has changed things. Obviously, it was, I think, the number 3 catcher in the country, and he was from California, and they got him on campus. And him being healthy for the first time the last 4 weeks, he's sitting almost 400 in SEC play as a true freshman with, I think, 5 home runs now. It's just absurd. So I had to touch on that. Obviously, Tegan Kuhns and him were Tegan Kuhns was the pitcher of the week, and then he was the freshman of the week. So just want to touch on that.
I mean, there's some insane freshmen. We'll probably talk about some freshmen like Anthony Pack and
Partita.
And Jorian Wilson too. But someone that's not freshman led, the Kentucky Wildcats laid an absolute egg this weekend. They sit at 9-12 in the SEC with Tennessee, Florida, and Arkansas. They have lost 6 straight SEC series. That includes losses to LSU, Vanderbilt, and Missouri, as well as South Carolina. So it's not like they're losing to the cream of the crop. I can be honest. They have Tennessee, they have Florida, they have Arkansas. They probably need to get to that 14-win mark just based on where the RPI is. They're right at the cut line. They feel like the bid stealer. I mean, how do you as a group rebound from this? Because it feels like you probably just pissed down your leg. And these next 3 weeks, you got to really play with your hair on fire. How do you come back from this if you're Kentucky?
Yeah, that's the question is, especially with the Nick Mingione team, you never question kind of the fire behind the team and if they can step up when the moments matter. That's kind of what he's known for. Is like he's more of a motivator type of coach than he is like an X's and O's or recruiter. Not saying he's not good at those things. He's just more known as like a motivator, get the guys to play hard, like their brand of baseball that usually plays well, like when you're backed up against the wall. But what I thought, like when I thought it would come out, would have been like last weekend or this weekend, especially when it's like, okay, we're playing at South Carolina. Technically, then they had the second worst record in the SEC. So it's like, okay, this is a weekend we need to win. Honestly, they should have got swept. They should have got beat yesterday too. So that it was a very surprising outcome. I don't know. So the problem isn't the motivation factor. It's where like their issues are just so all over the place. It's like none of the starters can throw well on the same weekend. It's like Jelkin for the last 4 weeks has been very up and down, very hit or miss. You don't know what you're getting from Harris. That now that Saturday guy is up in the air of who that's even going to be at all. We've discussed their bullpen every single week, which is a mess. And
I feel like we've talked about their bullpen enough.
Yeah. Offensively, they're relying on things that we've said this so much where it's like they are relying on a 3-run home run more than they ever have under Mingione. And that's just not what they are built for. So I just don't know. That's the thing is I don't know how they fix their issues is kind of what I'm getting at.
I should say this. They did all shave their heads before that Sunday game.
I saw that.
I mean, they had lost 4 SEC games in a row to Vanderbilt.
Nothing against Kentucky, but that was such a Kentucky baseball thing to do.
They needed something, though. I mean, they've been terrible. Like it's almost like killing a chicken if you're, a Cleveland Indian. Like you got to do something. So they sit 9-12 in the SEC. They get at Florida, Tennessee, and Arkansas. Come up to KPP. What percentage would you put Kentucky into the tournament? Because in my latest mock, I have them out. That's 5-4.
They will be very close. I mean, they are lucky right now that like the numbers are on their side. It just depends on with that schedule, how especially like the fact that it's gonna be a very interesting, not quite Vandy interesting, because that's gonna be like the way Vandy is treated by the committee could change the whole like what we do postseason wise moving forward.
We'll get to them in a little bit.
Yeah,
before we move on, I did have a question for you.
Well, yeah, but just for Kentucky, I think they will figure out a way to get in just because I don't know. Can they win 5 games on the stretch? Because then they might need 6.
I'll say this: whoever wins that Tennessee-Kentucky series, I feel like is on cruise control to make the tournament, and the loser of that series is really going to be sweating it out.
I don't think. See, that's what I don't. I just told you. I don't see how.
I also don't think Tennessee loses that series, though. I know that we'll probably talk about that on Thursday. Like, that's why I feel like better about Tennessee. Is it's like
Tennessee though is Kentucky Super Bowl when it's like when at that park. Like it. So, like, you remember when that 2014 came there and Christian Moore? Like that wasn't. It was still their.
That was I think that was the birth of the Pink Hats.
It was and it was and then Christian Moore had 3 homers in the Sunday game to win it. That's crazy.
South Carolina sits at 22-23. It's good for 7-14 in the SEC. They can still theoretically get to 14 wins. They have LSU, Vandy, and home against Alabama. Could you see them rolling off 7-9?
Don't waste the time. No. It's a good story now. Like they actually are playing hard, and they like it feels like right now they've actually met like their ceiling, like what they should have been all season long. Like the talent's actually showing up and playing. But no, they just dug themselves in way too big of a hole.
It's not 0. I'll give it 10. I mean, you're telling me you don't think LSU can lay an egg and get swept this week? Like you don't think they've already folded the tent and they're going to do weird shit?
Oh, that part's possible.
You don't think that they could take a series against? I mean, if they sweep LSU, take 2 of 3 from Vandy, and take 2 of 3 from Alabama,
no.
I mean, Bama's going the wrong way.
Vandy's also playing for their life, and South Carolina is not. Like Vandy's, yes, I don't think so. And Bama's going to be playing for their hosting life. So
I think that Vandy one is the last weekend. So that is a world where theoretically South Carolina and Vandy can be playing for a final spot, which is absolutely outrageous to think about. By the way, next up, the Georgia Bulldogs go into Oxford. It was a weird weekend. It was double-decker weekend. Friday, they were rained out, so they did a Saturday doubleheader. Ole Miss obviously won that game 10-8 with Dom Decker hitting 2 home runs to seal that one. Saturday, Will Furnace hit the tying home run in the ninth. Ultimately, Georgia wins it in extras. Sunday, Georgia battles back. It's Caden Aoki, spins an absolute gem, and Ole Miss loses 5-1. Some notes. Tristan Becerra went hitless on the weekend and went hitless on Saturday. And Ole Miss was still competitive. Federico was really, really hot. Phelps for Georgia was really hot. But for me, the story is Caden Aoki on Sunday. I feel like he has to have had the opportunity to get more starts. Wouldn't you agree? Especially for how up and down they've been.
I'm 50-50 on whether he should start or not. Just because of he feels right now like Wes Johnson, like you've seen it where it's like, okay, if they're in a sticky situation late in the game where they're up a run or two, Aoki's the guy that Wes Johnson trusts. So it kind of depends on like that spot of where it's like, do you want to get a guaranteed game where you're up 2 runs in say the 6th or 7th, and you know you can go to Aoki and he's going to shut the door, or do you want him as that third starter where you can possibly start the game hot and like keep it low scoring, and then try to piece it together at the end, and you're kind of flipping a coin on which bullpen guy is going to be good or bad that day. So it's really just a philosophical.
And you can't use you can't use Kenny Ishikawa either.
No,
because you would burn the DH.
Well, yeah. So yeah, that's.
Well, and then you can also not use him because he's ineffective. But
yeah. So I'm 50-50 on it. I think I'll trust Wes Johnson to make that call. I think it just depends on what it could just be weekend by weekend basis, because clearly he has a rubber arm. I mean, he threw 36 pitches on Saturday, came back and threw 98 on Sunday and threw awesome. Like that was like gutsy performance. But I guess just to get to the series as a whole, I don't know about you. This was my favorite. This was the best series that we've had all season long. And not even just the SEC, I think in the country, at least that I can remember. This was by far my favorite series. It was incredible. And not just the fact that it was all like bunched together. Like this series didn't even start until after the Tennessee-Bama series had ended. And then it all gets bunched together. And the way the timing even worked out, where it's like the last game on Saturday was basically, there was like 3 games left on TV because that game was on the 14th. So it's like
they were the first game on TV because they started at noon.
Yeah. So yes, that's what I was getting. So like everybody started with that one, and then you end with the late night one when there's only 2 or 3 other things. So every college baseball fan has it on. And then Sunday, when you saw those first 2 games, it's like, okay, well, I have to see what happens Sunday because this rubber match, and it's been awesome, and it delivered. So this was, it was the top team in the SEC according to record versus the hottest team in the SEC, and it absolutely paid off. Like it lived up to it.
I tweeted out that I feel better about Ole Miss despite them losing 2 of 3.
I moved it up. I moved Ole Miss up in my rankings. Yes, I literally moved Ole Miss up in my rankings.
I moved them down 2 spots just because almost like a heat check, if you will, at 8 spots. But they won a game, they lost. But I mean, I would say the Cade Townsend start, you always wonder how people are going to pitch when your ace doesn't have their good stuff. Yeah. And, they battled back. Obviously, they went hitless in the end of the innings, and Georgia found, I guess, a little bit of magic Sunday. But, I mean, you'd feel really, really good if you're an Ole Miss Rebel, which brings me to a tournament question for you. As I pull up their resume. God, I didn't realize how good they are. Both 31-14, sure. 11-10 in the SEC, RPI of 11, Arkansas, Alabama, and A&M remaining. A&M is a home game. The other 2 are road games. They are in the quote-unquote wash of the SEC. Do you feel like Ole Miss is going to be a host?
Yes. Yeah. So this is one of the rare ones where DSR actually matches RPI, and they're 11 in both. So that kind of, like when you combine those 2, that kind of tells you where a team's like actual ranking should be. So yeah, I think, and especially their schedule sucks coming up. I get it, but I do think I think it helps with the RPI. They're going to win games. Yeah, I think they end up as a host, because I still say the SEC gets 7.
I'll say this too, and this is kind of a little bit of an SEC homerism, and Noah's going to hate me for this because I got a lot of heat for this on Florida. But if you lose to a good team, it doesn't really hurt you as bad as losing to like a Missouri or a South Carolina. So I mean,
Correct.
that's probably only going to drop them like 3-4 spots. Like if they go 3-6, I think they need to go 4-5, 5-4. Obviously, there's a ton of the pack around them that I think is a really, really big factor. I have them actually going to Hattiesburg, which I think would be almost like hosting.
Oh, you have them as a 2?
I have them as a 2 in Hattiesburg.
Oh no, I really think they're locked in as a host, just about. Unless, I don't know, but I think they'd probably go. I think even if they go 4-5, I think if they go 3-6, they're probably on that line. I think if they go 4-5, they're hosting.
I have them as the Southern Miss is the 11, and Ole Miss going there along with Little Rock and NC State.
So then, so you'd have Ole Miss then as like 20. What is that? 22 or 23?
Mm-hmm. Right around there.
Okay, so you have them way down.
Georgia, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Georgia locked up a top 8 seed after this weekend. Like, they have the wins. They have I would almost argue, even with what they have remaining, I don't think they're gonna drop. The only thing that they're playing for right now is gravy. They got. Let me see. Here we go. They're 15-6 in the SEC, so they've already clinched. They get Auburn, Missouri, and LSU. And Missouri and LSU are at home.
Yep.
I mean, they're probably going to win the SEC outright, but I feel like they could. I don't see a world where they don't go 5-1 against Missouri and LSU. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, pretty much. Unless Missouri pulls some weird magic like they did against A&M last year. But obviously, Georgia and that A&M team last year were completely different teams.
Speaking of Texas A&M, they go into Condren and take 2 of 3 from the Florida Gators. They lost 9-2 Friday. Honestly, that game was a lot closer as it was 5-2 in the 8th.
Yep.
Then they went 8-4 and 5-1. So that is A&M's first win. Actually, it's their second win where they've allowed or where they scored less than 8 runs. So who kind of impressed you more this weekend? Was it the lack of offense down the stretch from the Florida Gators, or was it kind of A&M's pitching showing up? Because I feel like we've had 7 weeks of talking about how much A&M's pitching sucked, and this was kind of the first time where they looked like above average, I would say.
Yeah, obviously what impressed me, and the most impressive thing, Aiden King is going to he's probably going to win every Friday. That guy is crazy. Like, you're talking about A&M had the hottest offense in probably the country coming in, and it looked like they had never faced a college pitcher before. Like, their at bats, like, it wasn't even, they didn't hit anything hard, really. It was like all of his outs were like light.
Well, except Grahovic. I would say Grahovic was the only one that saw him.
The hottest hitter on the
but
planet.
Yeah.
Sorry,
but Sorrell didn't see him very well.
Well, Sorrell didn't. Okay, yeah, we'll get to Sorrell, but in a positive way, because Sorrell getting 1 hit the entire weekend and A&M still being able to put up a lot of runs, except for Friday on that pitching staff, kind of says a lot about where they're at. But yeah, so I guess what impressed me, Weston Moss. If you get that from Weston Moss on Sundays, you're okay with that. Like, and I don't even think he has to be that good, but it sort of is like, because they're going to have to use, like we've said this over and over, where it's like there's about 3 bullpen arms that Early trusts right now, and they're going to use those guys most likely on Friday and Saturday. So you're going to need length on your Sunday somehow. So even if Weston Moss can give them 5 innings and give up 4 to 5 runs, you will put in for that every Sunday, because you're expecting that offense to be able to score at least 6 or 7 against any other team Sunday starter outside of maybe Texas, maybe Evan Blanca right now. Maybe like there's probably,
Petrovic this weekend.
Petrovic will be, Petrovic who we'll get to. Yeah, you're probably talking 4 teams maybe. So yeah, it's just one of those things where, the offense kind of has to carry you. But yeah, this is also, I guess, from a worry standpoint, this is your, well, I guess not second bad one, but Sadeo wasn't good. I guess to get back to your original question, this Florida offense is so strange. Like, it's just one of those where it felt like another off week. Brendan Lawson missed another game because of sickness. This is his 4th missed game of the year.
Yeah, the sniffles.
I don't know what's going on. It's like 21-year-olds who are athletes and in like basically peak physical condition shouldn't be getting sick at all, let alone 4 times within like a month and a half. it's a very So it's a very
Does
strange
that
thing.
wear on your, like, if you're his teammate? Because, like, I'll say this, like, Grahovic's hand is not 100%, and he's grinding through it, and I know that that's, like, a big rallying cry. Can the inverse be that for Lawson where, hey, this
No,
guy's got the sniffles and he's not toughing it out? Like, hey,
no,
like, I
because
got hit
he's
in the
still
ribs
been
on
around.
Friday, and I'm playing
No.
through it. You
I
don't think
think
any
this-
of that's entering that Florida locker room?
I think I'm pretty sure he had more than the sniffles, or he would have played. I think that's that's just pandering to it. But no, because he's still around. It's like the team knows if he's sick or not. Now, if he's not actually sick, and if he's just like, I'm not playing today, obviously. But I think knowing that his teammates play, like, know it.
What if he's at like a 70% and he's not playing?
No, because then it's also part, like, when it's a sickness, it's not always just his say, because part of it is like if he's actually sick,
Yeah, like
the
the
team
fluids and
doctors,
everything.
the team doctors will say, like, you are not, like, do not go around the team, like, do not go around the coaches, do not go around your teammates, stay out of the locker room. You're also, if you're dehydrated, if he's throwing out, like, all that type of stuff. So there's plenty to go to it. But I think the bigger thing is, is there like some, obviously you don't want to speculate, but like being that age and being sick 4 times in a month and a half span, is there like something more like internally where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
like, do we need to go get something checked out? But back to I guess back to it. Florida still remains to be up and down for me. I have no clue what to expect. The interesting thing is they're probably still going to host, like, because their numbers, like, the numbers love them. The question now, if you're Florida, do you throw Aiden King against whatever 4 seed you get? Pretend it's Bethune-Cookman, who already beat you. Are you going to risk not throwing Aiden King and holding him to that game 2? I think that already needs to be talked about. I'm sure Sully's
I would do
already in the back of his
Sandiford.
head.
I do Sandiford Friday.
I don't know, but then you
I would
risk losing
not.
to
I would not. Okay, you know how much of a Liam Peterson guy I am. I feel like that's where kind of the weird stuff happens, is with him against the 4 seed.
That's what but also the weird stuff happens if you throw Sandiford and you lose, then Sullivan looks like an idiot, and that just gets blasted everywhere. It's like that's multiple years in a row where you have, like, because he did it last year in the Coastal Regional.
Yeah,
or not, it wasn't Coastal, was it was the
it
Coastal
was.
Regional.
Yeah, they did it against ECU.
And yes, but also he said, but also there was like a weather thing involved, so like it was like one of those where it's like, oh well, because the weather's coming in, we're going to start this guy. It didn't work out. If he does that 2 years in a row, then it's like, well, okay. Like,
I actually have Florida as a 2, by the way. I think that they're going to be like right at the cut line.
Yeah, we'll see. It's just it obviously with them, it depends on like which version of Florida you get for the next 3 weeks, because their metric, like the metrics, absolutely, love them.
I have them going to Coastal. I think that would
be fun.
I have Coastal, Florida, ECU, and Ryder.
Yeah, I mean that would. So then you get Florida versus Ethan. So then Florida would have to throw King game 1, because you get against Ethan Norby. Obviously, you wouldn't.
Yeah, you wouldn't pitch off.
So yeah, that'd be interesting. But I think they still host just because the metrics are so, like, just on their side.
And for Texas A&M, obviously they've won 5 straight SEC series. Yep. I'll say this. Just how Tennessee needed Tegan Kuhns to kind of bail him out with the bullpen. I think Aiden Sims does that too for A&M. Like, he's kind of their only 7-8 innings 2-run ball guy, and I mean they've been getting that from him. A&M has 33-8, 14-5 in the SEC, so they're locked in for an at-large bid. They have Ole Miss and then home against Auburn and Mississippi State. What likelihood do you think they're going to host, and what likelihood do you think they're going to be a top 8? Because I feel like they're hosting. 3 wins to host.
Yeah,
that's 3-6.
3-6. Yeah, I do too. Especially the way the offense is going. It's going to be interesting though, because where it comes to like the national seed thing, because they're going to be right there with probably around, like, just because their number, like, they're out of conferences, it doesn't look great, so that's kind of holding the RPI back a little bit. So like it's like their metric, but obviously that's going to improve with their schedule on the road. But also, Auburn is going to be in that exact same ballpark when they play. Like, Auburn's also going to be around that, like, kind of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 line.
And it's a road victory.
And so that will be, and Auburn will be the best pitching staff they faced as well.
And Auburn beats Jacksonville to kind of boost the RPI.
So it'll be that series will probably say, I could see them both being national seeds depending on what they do outside those 2 weekends. But I also wouldn't be surprised if we come down to that one and it's like, okay, this is the one that was who was ninth or.
I mean, if you're really thinking about it just from like a numbers perspective, it's Texas and Georgia in front of them. Did I lose you?
No, you got me.
Let's say it's Texas, Georgia in front of them, UCLA, Georgia Tech, UNC. Like, that's 5 right there. And that's even before you talk about A&M and Auburn. So I think that, just keep winning if you're both those teams. That is the halfway point. We're going to run the home field ad.
Before we get back to the action, we've got to tell you about the best gear in college sports. The place to go is Home Field Apparel. Check out the Diamond Classics collection, high-quality throwback jerseys for your favorite team. From the Arkansas Razorbacks to the Vanderbilt Commodores, Home Field has you covered. Home Field's the only apparel partner of College Baseball Central. Gear up for game day by visiting homefieldapparel.com.
Thank you to our friends over at Home Field. We're founding sponsors of Southern Fried Baseball. Let's move on to the one that we just talked about, the Texas Longhorns. They went to Vanderbilt, took 2 of 3. They dropped that middle game. They had the big sack fly for Mendoza in game 3. What would you say about Texas's performance this weekend against a Vandy team that, in all honesty, has been pretty desperate to try and get to SEC wins?
Yeah, it was just a weird series in general. It was like, how does Texas get shut out on Vandy's TBA day when it's like Vandy's TBA lately has just been like, okay, we're willing to give up 10 runs because we're going to try to score 12 or 13. That was very strange. Like, they got an awesome performance. I don't know. I don't really feel any different about Texas. Like, I'm still the same. Like, I still have them. I think I have them, ranked 6th? Yeah, still 6th. So I didn't change anything about them personally. So it's still right in that area where I thought they were. It's still tough. We talked about this. It's tough to go on the road in the SEC. Your only goal is to win the series. You do that. Obviously, Volantis looked good again. Ruger Riojas was. Okay, it was a weird one. He was throwing well, but getting bad results, if that makes sense.
Once he made it out of that first inning, I thought he was fine. Or
Yeah,
actually, once he made it past like the first 5 pitches.
Yeah, but then he was getting like some weird balls hit hard and like just he pitched better than what the result ended up. Especially when you see the final score, it's like, oh, Riojas like collapsed again. It really wasn't that. And then Sunday, the fact that I think like what we've said, Harrison needed a bounce back start. He was good again. Burns,
he saves them so much.
Burns Burns having that type of outing is going to be important for them moving forward. I think that's a massive one. From a pitching standpoint, obviously, their arms are still crazy. From an offensive standpoint, Aiden Robbins still like this. The team kind of goes how Robbins goes. We saw 2 home runs in the first game again. Anthony Pack is literally okay. So remember when I was joking, or I made a mistake last week when I was like, I think they have Anthony Pack hitting cleanup. And you're like, no, they're hitting 5th because he was hitting 5th last week.
No, I said the opposite. He's hitting. You said 5th, and I said he's hitting cleanup.
Oh, okay. Because then for some reason, and then I noticed this weekend, I was like, okay, he's literally hitting cleanup, and I think he has like 3 home runs on the season or something. I could be wrong, but it's like it's just funny where it's like, you have Aiden Robbins, you've got Tenney, you've got like all these power hitters in this lineup, and then you have Anthony Pack, the little slap hitting freshman, hitting 3rd, or 4th.
He leads the SEC in batting average, by the way.
Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. No, I did not, but it doesn't surprise me.
He's on a 15-game hitting streak. I'll say this. For as doom and gloom as they were Saturday night, like there was a tweet that somebody sent me a screenshot of like a player's dad retweeting them shitting on Tulo. I thought that was pretty funny.
Why? Come on.
I don't know. Like they just like every time they lose. Do you remember when South Carolina was losing and we're like every time they lose they just talk about firing Pulmonary and it's like getting depressing? Every time Texas loses, it's like they freak out like Tulo, like fire Tulo. They did bench Borba on Sunday, by the way. I thought that was pretty interesting because they've been getting nothing out of the bottom of the order. Like I think they had one hit on Saturday between the 5 through 9 guys.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Obviously, they're going to have enough wins and the way that the schedule's shaping up to probably be a host in the SEC and probably be a top 8 seed. But I mean, if you're looking ahead a little bit, do you worry about them in a regional, like hitting through a regional?
I don't know. I think they are going to be very dependent on who gets put with them. Because the fact is, like, they've been able to hit pretty much every weekend outside of a few, and it's always usually like one down game a weekend. It's never like, I wouldn't say like all three they've been down. Like they obviously we didn't get to see what happened in the third game, and obviously A&M. So yeah, I don't know. I still trust the talent on this team, especially on that offense. I think especially the fact that you get with that pitching staff, the offense knows, like, you're kind of in that position where it's like, okay, if we're in a get him over, get him in like type of situation, they can do that rather than, okay, we're going to rely on a 3-run home run. So no, I guess to answer your question, but also it's going to be very dependent on who they get, because if their 2 seed, say, is somebody right now, it's like, I don't know, I'm trying to think who will
like a Boston College or a Pitt.
No. I would say more like, I said Kansas would be a good, Arizona State. If they get Arizona State, that would be very interesting, because
I think they're really worried if they get somebody who can bang. That'd be the only thing.
That's what Arizona State, because Arizona State also has like starting arms that can shut you down. Their issue is the bullpen. So it's like if they can get their starter to go 6 or 7, and then Arizona State puts up 5 or 6 because that's what they do, and Landon Harrison comes in there and is like obviously the best player in the country right now, that number wise, not literally, people take that stuff literally when you say it, but number wise, he's the best player in the country right now. So that would be, if Arizona State goes to Austin, I think that would be a nightmare for Longhorns.
I feel like I'm going to get called a hater, but I want to preface this that they didn't win the SEC this year. They remind me of 2024 Arkansas. Like, they have phenomenal starting pitching. The offense just finds ways to win games in SEC play. But if you remember correctly, they had that 3-run homer that Hagen Smith gave up to make it 6-1, and, they never came back. That'd be the only thing, is if they get somebody that can really kind of challenge their arms. Because realistically, like, what, they got 7 or 8 arms that they probably trust at this point?
Yeah.
Like the 3 starters, Crossland, Cozart, and Burns.
Those are like top end in the country arms that they trust too. So it's not like when we say 7 for A&M that they trust, the 7 for A&M.
They're different kinds of 7.
It's not the 7 that Texas trusts. Yeah.
Like,
it's different.
I kind of worry a little bit about them though, like with some of their back end bullpen. And I think I talked about it during the non-conference stuff about how, Volantis is so good at giving you 7 or 8. Harrison is so good at giving you 6 or 7. Like, guys like Jason Flores aren't really getting opportunities. So that'd be the only, like, if I'm Schlossnagle, I almost go and find like another one of those like midweeks and do like a Tuesday, Wednesday, just so you could get some of these starters work. Because that'd be the only thing, is I feel like there's just a little bit of unknown around their 8 or 9 bullpen arms, which, granted, there's a lot of teams in the country where we know their 8 or 9 bullpen arm sucks. So it's kind of like a good problem to have, if you will.
Yeah, the question is, do they need it? Because you mentioned, the starters, and it's not just Lane, but all the starters go length. Like, we even, like, Rojas, like, started off rough, and he still went 6. So then that's like, you leave your guys 3 innings, and especially with the depth they have, and I think it's more of like they probably have 8, maybe 9, just because of, like, I guess because when you add Cozart in there, who's whatever starter / reliever freshman, I think you add him, like, if you add him as a bullpen guy, then it's like, okay, so if we have 8 or 9 guys, 5 of those guys in the bullpen, can we cover, say if you only have to cover 9 total innings with your bullpen the entire weekend?
Regional, yeah.
And that's even short. Like, that's saying your starters don't get 7 innings. Like, that's if they each only go 6. Then it's like, okay, we have 5 arms that we trust, and you can bring Burns twice, you can bring Cozart twice, you can, like, do these things and, like, match up. So it's like, I think the
craziest part was they rolled Crossland out there on Friday, and it was like an afterthought, because it's like, they can bring Cozart and Burnsy in behind them. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Crossland's been on. It's an embarrassment. It is embarrassment of riches. I think the only way, I guess, if you want to extend it further, The only way they get in real trouble is if they somehow get in like that game 7 of a regional, where it's like, okay, they're in the winner's bracket, loser's bracket team comes back, beats them in that game 1, and then it's all of a sudden, okay, now you've used 4 starters. You no longer have, like, you can't rely on like what you've been relying on the entire season. That's when things should get
Well, they
a
have
little bit
Flores. Flores has started for them in the past.
yeah, but it's still,
So
but it's still
that's-
dicey. That's still not something where it's still not where you're just like, okay, I'm comfortable with who we have in game 7, because they haven't had to do that all year.
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting too. Obviously, hopefully they don't have to get to that. But let's
Yeah.
move on to the team that the Texas Longhorns are going to be welcoming into Austin this weekend. The Mississippi State Bulldogs have rebounded nicely from their little 6-game losing streak that they have, and they've rattled off 6 straight. That's 3 against South Carolina, 3 against LSU. It's 10-8, 9-8, 13-8. LSU led in the 5th inning. Let's start with the depressing part first. LSU, again, blows all 3 games. Kaysen Evans did not pitch this weekend due to soreness.
Yep.
I want to read LSU's resume because I did put out a tweet that said I believe in LSU. I don't anymore. They're dead to me. Gone forever, never to return. They sit 15th in the SEC, 24 and 21, RPI of 64 with Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida remaining. Do you think they finish below South Carolina in the SEC? Since we're not talking about them making the tournament, they're officially done.
At this pace, yeah. I mean, I don't know. We talked about, and I think I've probably said this out of the 2 of us. I've said this for the past like 4 weeks. How, like, if their mentality, like, I thought they were dead coming into this weekend. So I was even shocked that they were.
I thought they were dead coming into the A&M Gate series.
Yeah, I was
Set
shocked.
that aside.
I was shocked that they were fighting in, like, dude. But after, like, I thought after Friday, it's like, okay, this team has to just, like, it's like one of those where it's like, okay, can we just, like, Mississippi State's just going to put them out of the misery for the rest of the weekend. Then they get a big lead on Saturday, let Mississippi State come back, and then you get a walk-off home run in extras. And then it's like, okay, now they absolutely just, like, now they just have to be dead. And then Sunday they show up again and have another lead. It's like, what is happening? And then they get beat again. It's just like, how it's like, not only are they losing, but it's also the LSU fans that are still like watching and have their back. It's like you're also going through the worst possible ways to lose at the same time. I know it's not funny, but it is, like, not being an LSU fan, it is just like how like the nightmare season is turning into just like, how does it progressively keep getting worse? So
Well, they had everything go their way last year. Like, if you really think
They
about
did.
it, I'm not saying that luck was the reason that they won the national championship, but it's
Yeah.
like you know, the flare hitting off of Cam Kojal's glove because he's 5'9" instead of 5'11",
Mhm.
like little shit like that. And then the flip side of that is like it's the complete opposite. If we're gonna say positives, Bronze looked pretty good in the leadoff spot. Aaron Beatty,
Freshman.
Cerna, and Yaman
Cerna,
have looked really,
freshman,
really
yeah.
good. All 3 of those guys are catchers. So I want to pose a question to you. Cerna's a freshman, Yaman's a redshirt junior, and Aaron Beatty's a sophomore. How many of those guys do you think are in an LSU uniform next year?
I would still say all of them.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, LSU. It's like, I don't know who has really left LSU that didn't have a spot. All 3 of those guys, if they come back, will have a spot. Like, it just depends on like which one of them will move to first base.
That's why I said, do you
Which,
think
like-
one of them will be like, hey, I want
Yeah,
to be a catcher? You don't
Yeah,
think so?
or- No, I mean, I wouldn't think so. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know if anybody who was like guaranteed a starting spot at LSU that's left. Like, it's
Well,
just
Larson. I mean,
Larson was
it's a
not
little bit
guaranteed,
of a
but Larson-
similar.
Larson also stayed there 3 years and was like a platoon guy, and then also like even what was going to be last year wasn't like he wasn't guaranteed to play either.
No,
So,
he was
like,
going to have to, and especially
Yeah.
he was going to have to be a first baseman, if you will.
correct. Yeah. So
Excuse
so
me,
he
wasn't playing
left.
in the
I
outfield.
I think all those guys, especially because of who they're losing, and like they're going to have that's 3 spots in the lineup, I believe, right now. So
Yeah.
I just think I think they all stick around, and I don't think Yaman's like a true. I don't know, but maybe this is just me from watching it. I don't think he's as good defensively as, especially Cerna already being a freshman is probably their
Or
best
Aaron
defensive
Beatty. I think
catcher.
Aaron Beatty's the best
But I mean,
defender of all.
Oh, see, I don't think so. I think Cerna is. But I also think Cerna being a true freshman, personally, and already in my eyes being the best defensive one, he's probably getting 2 of the games next year. And then if you have Aaron Beatty get the other one, I think Yamano would be the odd guy out. And he's also, if you look at it that way, he's the worst offensive out of the 3 of them as well. So it's like
He
if
looks better
it
in the
was going to be
outfield,
one of them,
I
if
should
it
say,
was going to be
too.
one,
I could totally see him playing left field for him next year.
nobody in the, you want a hot take?
Yeah.
Nobody who is in an LSU uniform right now will be a starter in any of the 3 outfield spots for LSU next year. LSU next year will be all three LSU outfielders next year will come from the transfer portal.
They have a freshman that they're pretty high on in center field. That'd be the only one. You think they portal all 3?
Yep. Yeah. I think, yes, I do.
I actually was going to say the opposite. I think that they move Braun out to the outfield and portal 4 infielders.
Okay, well, they might portal everywhere but catcher, as we just discussed.
I think they portal a third baseman. They're obviously replacing Milam. I think
Correct.
Rucker. I feel like they have to go get somebody to push him. And then first base is, you can get a first baseman out of the portal. That's probably the easiest position.
Simpson was Simpson's a redshirt sophomore, I believe. So it depends on can he bounce back and have a better year? Because when he transferred, he's extremely highly touted. So you'd have him at second base if he proves he can do it. So I don't know. Yeah, and it's weird because we're talking about this and he flat out, Jay Johnson, it hasn't happened yet, but he flat out whiffed in the portal this year. I have a hard time believing he whiffs 2 years in a row, especially with the lessons he's learning from this year's team.
And he's going to get 2 extra weeks of doing nothing but portaling.
Yeah, I still don't think that matters. Personally, I might be in the minority on this. He still had the number, like I said this last week. He had the number 1 portal class last year. I don't think that's 2 weeks for him. Because it depends on what school you're at. LSU recruits itself. If you're somebody like Zach York, and LSU is going to be calling when they're available to call, you don't commit yet. You might be talking to other schools, but you don't commit to it.
I want to push back on that.
Okay.
I think LSU recruits itself, but I think Texas, Arkansas, Florida, A&M also recruit themselves.
They do, yes. But that's what I'm saying is but you still want to talk to all, if you're a portal kid, unless you have your mind made up where you already want to go, I think you want to hear from all, 5 or 6 of those schools before you make a decision. And it's not like you have to make a decision as soon as the portal opens. So it's
if you think about it, Tenney was pretty early.
But Tenney knew he wanted to go to Texas.
Hakopian was pretty early, and he took a couple visits.
True.
So that'd be the only thing is.
But also, Hakopian was never rumored to go to LSU. Tenney was never rumored to go to LSU. I think if there's part of you wants to hear from those 5 schools, you're gonna wait. If you're a kid, you're gonna wait 2 weeks for Jay Johnson to call you, and then if you're not interested after that, then you go somewhere else. But I think when LSU calls, most of the time, kids are gonna answer.
Yeah, 100%. I should say that. That's very nitpicky. It's not like I think LSU's a fit job. But for Mississippi State, they've looked absolutely phenomenal the last 2 weeks. Jacob Parker, he's probably not going to catch Nico Portita for freshman of the year, but I would say first team all freshman at least. Blake Beavis has been on an absolute tear since returning to the lineup. Garrick Fry, who they benched on Sunday against Tennessee, he's been on an absolute tear the last 2 weeks. It's kind of starting to come together, which is a little bit of a scary thought if you're an opposing team. They're starting. They still got some issues with the bullpen. They're still really kind of begging for McPherson to get back, but the lineup is kind of returning to form, which wasn't what we saw that Tennessee series at all. They can swing it.
Maybe on the pitching side and maybe on the hitting side. It's hard to tell off this LSU weekend. How the free passes that LSU was giving them. Now I know the clutch moments came up on Mississippi State's way. Imagine if Parker doesn't hit that home run, what does it look like when you lose a game? I can't remember the kid's name because he hardly ever plays, but had the other home run this week, the big late one. But
didn't Fry hit the home Milkhouse?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. So it's I don't know. It was weird. Obviously Teal had a breakout weekend, which it's much needed.
He needed that. Yeah.
He needed a breakout weekend. It felt it was a very good weekend for the offense, especially when it came to the clutch moments that they weren't having in those the Tennessee series and the Ole Miss series. So, but then from a pitching standpoint, you mentioned it. Are you happy with giving up 24 runs to a team that should have been dead with no Jake Brown? Like basically Stanfield didn't do much all weekend. Curiel is still like, dude.
It was really just Aaron Beatty and
It was-
Cerna trading
Yeah,
blows.
seriously. It was just so I don't know if you feel very good about that. Like, I don't know if you feel good about this weekend. And I wouldn't even say, and I hate to put it like on them and saying like, okay, it feels like a turn the corner this weekend, because it did not feel like, even though they swept, which is crazy to say, you sweep an SEC weekend, it still didn't feel like they played good or played great.
Yeah, they kind of just waited for LSU. I do have a question. Did you watch this game? These games?
Yes, I was. Yes, all of them.
How does Milam not stop the Woodson single in game one? Like, because I've rewatched that play like 3 or 4 times, and it looked like he like was going to stop it. I mean, I don't think he's definitely not going to get the guy at first, but I was kind of surprised that it got through.
No, yeah. So this is, and I actually have had this conversation not about that play, but like about other shortstop plays before, just because I played shortstop from like at the D1 level and for 20 years of my life. So like there are like the way your body moves, and especially like when you know like you're gonna have to, like the transfer is gonna be in, you have to transfer it a certain way, and you're also already thinking in your head when a ball is coming, like what your arm slot is gonna have to be, because you know like where your body's gonna end up after you field it. It looked like where he was like in between on like, am I gonna go to first or not? Because like then it's like, because he was in between where it's like, do I make a play where I'm gonna have to literally like spin and like have to immediately get rid of it quick, or am I just trying to stop it from going into the outfield and like stopping? Like, and from that standpoint,
he overran it.
Yes. So like it looked like, that's what I mean. Is like he was kind of, it looked very in between, on kind of like his idea of where that kind of leads to like the whole LSU thing in general, where it's like everybody right now is like forced to feel like they have to make a game saving play at every moment. So yeah, I think that was just.
It was a weird play.
I
thought that I'm not going to say he was ever going to get the guy at first, but he should have kept it in the infield.
Yeah. And then he gets no grace on that. And then he gets no grace. If they call that guy out at second base on the
my God. Yes. How do you not challenge that if you're Jay?
No, it's the other way around. Mississippi State, like they called him out and Mississippi State challenged it.
Oh, okay.
And they flipped it and said he was off the base. And it's like, dude, it's just one of those, and as a middle infielder, it's like, give us grace, because we are trying not to get killed. Like, especially me, like I played in the era before you were safe from like being basically slide tackled at second base.
Yes, I remember that.
I took the worst one, Wichita State. I still hate Wichita State for like, I got ripped apart at Wichita State on one. So it's like, I still wish the neighborhood rule was a thing. I hate this stupid stuff where it's like, you have to be so spot on and precise. So yeah.
Did you see the Dalton Rushing one with the Dodgers?
No, but I saw
like Bolden.
No, I didn't.
I'll send it to you after.
Okay, yeah.
Probably the biggest surprise for me, I'm gonna be honest, I had to go and watch the wheels of this as I was not watching any of this live. The Auburn Tigers take 2 of 3 from the Oklahoma Sooners. 6-4 Friday. They lost 2-1 Saturday behind a great Cam Johnson start. And then Sunday they run roll them. This is now 3 or 4 straight victories for the Auburn Tigers since they got swept at Alabama.
Yep.
What do you make of Auburn? Because, I mean, I feel like they're just flying under the radar in every sense of the word, and they're just going through and dominating. Like, they kind of remind me of those Stanford teams from, like, 2-3 years ago where, nobody really watches them, but they're just kind of penciled in to take 2 of 3 every week.
Yeah, when we touched on this last week in, like, the pregame, it's like this offense is coming alive. And that's kind of like Eric Rivera down at the bottom of the lineup. Who was it that hit 3 home runs yesterday?
Bingham.
Bingham, yeah. Bingham hitting 3 home runs. Rembert finally feels like he's coming, like getting to the SEC form. Freilich has just been steady Eddie. So it's then like even like Bubba Terrell right now is on the absolute struggle bus. Like he like there's a reason he's like hitting 9th, I believe, still this weekend. And like that, he's not a 9-hole hitter in the SEC. He was carrying them when everybody else was struggling the first half, like first 3 to 4 weeks of the season. Just imagine when he gets it going again, because I have to believe he's a good enough hitter that he will.
He's too good to hit like that.
Yeah, they are a scary, scary team, especially when you bring this pitching staff in. Like Marciano, didn't have his best outing, and they were still in it, especially going across from Cam Johnson, who it was a very Cam Johnson good start, where it was what, five and a third or 5 2/3,
4 walks.
five walks, 4 strikeouts, and there's Auburn got guys on base, I believe, in every inning, but he bared down, like they couldn't get it runs across, like he bared down when runners got on base.
And then Xander and Leon behind him were pretty great.
Yeah, which is massive. Mercurius kind of got back to his good outing on Friday. That was good to see because they needed him again. Like they need him to be like an ace. So from an Oklahoma standpoint, that's good. But yeah, in Auburn, it's like I still love what you have from Petrovic. If that's your third best starter, you're great.
They're going to bang out 14 runs on Sunday.
Alvarez, Alvarez. And then, I mean, you also have Jackson Sanders is like. Jackson Sanders would almost be a weekend rotation guy in almost on probably 12 or 13 of the SEC teams right now would be a weekend starter. And that's like your kind of long relief guy, or just, hey, wherever we need him, we can throw him. And it's like he's like a security blanket because I don't think so they're in a very, very good spot right now with the offense rolling. Pitching staff is better than expected and rolling. Yeah, I like how you said that, where it's like they are quietly winning these series, but it's also
they're a quiet program though. Like they've been going to Omaha routinely, and I don't think anybody ever puts them in I think we had them 12th preseason.
That's why I felt like I had to remind people if you remember a preseason show, and I was like, do you guys people forget this was the 4th overall national seed last year, and it gets thought like
they played in the supers too. Like they were good.
And I also feel like I think they're quiet. I think, which is weird because I wonder if it's like the last 3 series, like the Kentucky series, they pretty much won easily outside of that Saturday game. The Florida, like a lot of people had attention on, but they were like better series going on, which is kind of a weird thing to say. And then
those Florida's off weekend though, to be fair.
Yeah,
so
this felt like
discrediting them.
This felt like a sleepy weekend where it was almost like, okay, it's Oklahoma, like. It just, I don't know. For some reason, like you mentioned, you didn't get eyes on it. It was probably just because it was, I don't even know why. It just, because it feels sleepy. We will see these next 2 weekends at A&M, at Mississippi State. These are going to be, I'm sure ESPN2 has one of them. I'm sure SEC Network has another. They'll get a nationally televised game, if not 2, during that 6-game stretch. And then you have Georgia at home to finish it. The 3, they've been quiet up until now, but these next 3 weekends are about to get very, very loud, and they're about to get a lot of attention. So I'm excited to see how they go about it.
Yep, they're 12-9 in the SEC. They still need that one elusive win to be a mortal lock. You mentioned Texas A&M and Mississippi State. They finished with Georgia, so probably the hardest stretch. But I think they're going to come out strong on the other side of it. I know that we mentioned it earlier, but I mean, if they go 3-6 in these 3 series, like it's really not that crazy. Obviously, it'll be an interesting one. We'll talk about it more on Thursday, but I think the Marciano one, I feel like he's a really tough matchup for Texas A&M just because of how he pounds the zone. But it's going to be a fun series. And probably the most unfun series of the weekend, the Arkansas Razorbacks went on up to Missouri and took 2 of 3, 5-4, 6-0, 6-1. Friday and Sunday, they looked very pedestrian. Sunday, it was a really, really great pitching matchup from Missouri. Arkansas sits at 11-10 in the SEC. Probably they feel like they're below all those like group of SEC teams that are looking to host. They get Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Kentucky. First off, before we talk about Arkansas, Missouri is officially done. They would have to win the SEC to make the tournament. Not that there was, any kind of heartbreak there, but they got 3 weeks. If you're the Arkansas Razorbacks, what percentage would you give them to 1 host, and then 2 if they are a 2 to roll through as a 2 seed?
50%. Like I feel like that's where I'm at on them. Not gonna lie, and I'm glad we're getting to like the full part of this because I hardly watched any of this. I think the only part I watched innings 6 through 9 yesterday. I
watched the Friday game.
6 through.
That was
innings 6 through 9 on Saturday because this was Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I watched 6 through 9 Saturday because I was like, "There's no way Arkansas is not going to come back against Missouri," and they did. So that's like all I watched of it. Obviously, I was at Tennessee, so. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a weird team. They're very Florida-ish without the guaranteed starting pitching, but like the offense feels a little bit more like the offense feels very like the same as like we talked about the Florida offense, where it's like you don't know what days, like when it shows up in a big way. When it doesn't show up, it shows up in a very big way on the bad side of it. But what they have left is, I mean, RPI wise, they're going to be like, what are they right? I think they're behind Tennessee. Like I think they have like the 12th or 13th worst RPI, I believe, in the SEC
It
right now.
is.
Yeah.
Let me see.
I wanna say it's
30th.
like 30th, yeah. So that's, yeah. So you're talking, yeah. So you're probably around like 12th or 13th best mark in the SEC. So you're probably not getting a host over a lot of those teams. But you also have a good chance to, like, you've got a very good chance against Ole Miss. You get Ole Miss at home, you get Oklahoma at home. So you kind of feel good, like, especially if you feel like, if you're Arkansas, you feel like you can win that Ole Miss series. Like, even though Ole Miss is hot right now.
And they get Northwestern State, who's probably it's a game that you can get up to that you're not going to sleepwalk through. So that's 8.
It's a decent
8 games.
And then you have, so like if you feel like you're Arkansas, you feel like you can win the Ole Miss series. You feel like you can win the Oklahoma series. And then like your only other road one is at Kentucky, who could technically be eliminated by the time they play in that last week, who is not necessarily playing for much. So yeah, I think if you're Arkansas, like it's kind of all in front of them. Now I don't know what to expect. Like I won't be shocked if they go 6-3. I won't be shocked if they go 3-6. It's just it's a very kind of strange time for them right now.
I should say this. The only thing that really worries me about this Arkansas team is think about how many times at the beginning of the year they'd win Friday, win Saturday, lay an egg on Sunday, and then chase it into the weekend. Like, I mean, a South Carolina game on Sunday, that was where they kind of started their little downtrot, and they really haven't been the same since. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it'll be interesting with Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Kentucky. Aside from the Kentucky one, I mean, Ole Miss and Oklahoma are pretty much deadlocked in terms of the hosting conversation with Arkansas. Arkansas obviously has a little bit worse RPI, but I think that's the one for me. It's just Arkansas has to be aggressive. I mean, they almost have to go in and probably go. I mean, if they're sitting here at 7-2, I would feel really confident about them. It's weird because I actually don't think that they could be a 9-16 team. I feel like if they get hot enough to get a host, they're going to be a top 8. Wouldn't you? Because I mean, they'd have to really leapfrog a ton of SEC teams to be in a hosting conversation.
Yeah, I just can't see them going 7-2 because like that's saying
that's 2 of 3 against Oklahoma and sweeping Kentucky.
Yeah, sweeping Kentucky. That's 2 of 3 against Ole Miss, 2 of 3 against Oklahoma. No, I think I would say 6-3 is probably would be more like that. I think 6-3 is on the higher end of it. Yeah, I could also see them losing the series to either Ole Miss or Oklahoma, or
I could too.
Like, and even sweeping at Kentucky is still like I still think that's very tough to. Like,
they are not built
even
for
though Kentucky's correct, and even though Kentucky's struggling right now, it's still not. I still don't expect teams to get swept at home. Like very rarely do I expect teams to get swept at home in the SEC. So that's a tough one there.
I have them going to the Lawrence Regional with Missouri State and Oral Roberts. Tell me that wouldn't be a lot of fun.
I think Missouri State might win that regional. If
Arkansas, I think that'd be a tale of two fan bases of Arkansas and Kansas.
Dude, you
put old money versus new money.
Dude, okay. I've also watched enough Kansas games. You talk like I hate how people are like, oh my gosh, these SEC and ACC teams playing freaking bandboxes where the ball just flies out. Dude, the Big 12 this year, some of their stadiums, I don't want to hear this ever again. The way the ball is flying out at Kansas State, they're over in all their games like 17.5 is what it's getting set at on like DraftKings. West Virginia, ball is flying out. Arizona State, I mentioned. Like these balls, I don't want to hear this again where it's just like, oh, ACC and SEC put up so many good offensive stats because they're ballparks. Come on. Like we've seen this. And like, especially Kansas, I don't trust this Kansas pitching staff. Yeah, that would be a fun one. They're good. You know what that would be? That would be the Ole Miss regional from last year, where it's like every game's like 14-12, and you have no clue what's going to happen.
Here's you an interesting stat, by the way. I know that we're not a Big 12 show, but this is the Kansas lineup: NAIA, JUCO,
I saw that tweet,
JUCO, D2, JUCO. So
yeah, I saw that tweet. That's like what's and like West Virginia is sort of the same way. Like that's kind of how they built too, and that's like perfect. Where it's like if we're going to get these portal guys, we have to be very specific in what we look at, and we aren't getting these like high major D1 big conference transfers because they probably are going SEC, ACC. So if a team like Kansas, if you hit on those guys, then it looks like what Kansas looks like right now, where you're top 15 team in the country.
Yeah, it's just going to be fun down the stretch. That is all that we have time for. We are going to be back here Thursday from 6 o'clock, 7 if you're on the East Coast. We'll be talking through all 8 SEC games. I'm sure some midweek stuff will happen that we will neglect to mention because we never talk about midweek stuff. But
I do.
Yeah, I know. I don't give a shit about midweeks. I know I got flamed for it in the chat. So midweeks only
Georgia
matter
Tech, no, Georgia
if
Tech
you're a
literally
mid-major.
run-ruled Georgia 5 days ago.
Midweeks only matter if you're a mid-major. So
Not true at all.
If you value midweek, seek inward because you're probably
not
a
even close.
mid-major.
You're pointing out you have a mid-major brain. We'll
Thanks,
see.
everybody. We'll see you Thursday.